Yananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishram Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamvitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome back to our every Friday and Saturday morning series on Bhakti Tattva Vivek. Till now we had two classes, and in the first class we discussed about the contents of the chapter or the book Bhakti Tattva Vivek. Bhakti Tattva Vivek is basically analysis of the definition of pure devotional service given by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in first chapter speaks about the intrinsic nature of devotion or the Swarupa Lakshana of pure devotion. And then he discusses in chapter 2, then what is Bhakti Abhas or semblance of devotion? What is Abhasa Bhakti? And then in chapter 3, he discusses what are the natural attributes of Bhakti or the characteristics of Bhakti, the 6 characteristics which we discuss in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then he comes to what is the qualification to practice this Shuddha Bhakti. So we saw the preface in the first class about how the glories of pure devotion is what is extolled. But we need to know what is also mixed devotion. So there are various types of mixed devotion, and we had listed them. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is specifically writing this 4 essays so that he can distinguish the difference between mixed devotion and pure devotion or Uttama Bhakti or Ananya Bhakti, as Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Uttama Bhakti is what Rupa Goswami says, or Shuddha Bhakti. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written these extensive essays based on our Siddhanta Acharya Jiva Goswami on the Bhakti Sandarbhas and Rupa Goswami Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we saw this in the preface in the first class. And then we actually began with the first chapter with the Mangalacharan first. Very beautiful Mangalacharan. I will once again recite the Mangalacharan. युगपद्राजते यस्मिन् भेदा भेद विचित्रता वन्दे तं कृष्ण चैतन्यं पञ्चतत्त्वान्वितं स्वतः प्रणम्य गौरचन्द्रस्य सेवकान् शुद्ध वैष्णवान् तत्त्वविवेकाख्यां शास्त्रं वक्ष्यामि यत्नत विष्णव वैष्णव दास्यस्य शूद्रस्याकिञ्चनस्य मे एतस्मिन् उद्यमे हि एकं फलं भागवती क्षमा. A very beautiful Mangalacharan, which we all should recite before starting Bhakti Tattva Viveka. So with this Mangalacharan, establishing the Vastu Nirdesh and the Prayojan, describe pure devotion, and he's giving a benediction and asking prayers from the pure devotees. So we began with tasting and preaching pure bhakti. This is the first paragraph we discussed in the second class. There are two results. One, we will know the nature of Shuddha Bhakti. Ignorance will be destroyed. Human life will be successful by engaging in Shuddha Bhakti. Second, we'll be protected from polluted and mixed conceptions which exist in the name of Shuddha Bhakti. And the harm of false philosophies we saw also in the last class. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on to the definition of pure devotional service, what Rupa Goswami is defining in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So in this context, we went to directly the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu as to Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service. So this is what we have been discussing in the last class. And the first thing what we discussed was Prabhupada, what he speaks about this definition, and then what is Mukhya Lakshan, Gavan Lakshan. We understood the concept of what is Mukhya and Lakshan, or primary and secondary characteristics. Then Anushilanam, which has two connotations, two shades of meanings. What is Anu? And then there is Cheshtarupa Anushilanam and Bhavarupa Anushilanam. We also saw what Prabhupada has to say about Anushilanam. Now we continue with our discussion on Anushilanam. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is discussing, is going to discuss about pure devotional service definition from Rupa Goswami. So we thought we should extensively discuss this based on Jiva Goswami's commentary, Vishwanath Thakur's commentary, and Prabhupada's points in the Nectar of Devotion summary study. So that's why we have been going through this, so that when we study Bhakti Tattva Vivek, it will further enhance our understanding as to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking in Bhakti Tattva Vivek. So Anushilanam we have covered till now. Now Krishna Anushilanam. So what is Krishna Anushilanam? Krishna includes Krishna or persons related to Krishna either in Cheshtarupa or Bhavarupa. So Krishna means not just only Krishna, it includes persons related to Krishna. And persons related to Krishna can include the spiritual master, things which are very dear to Krishna, which is called as, in the definition of Rupa Goswami, called as Tadiya Seva, like Tulsi or cows. Because it involves persons related to Krishna also, it is not too narrow. So Krishna includes not only persons related to Krishna, it includes all the avatars in the Vishnu Tattva category. So that is also bhakti. For example, Guru Padashra is a limb of bhakti, though it is not direct service to Krishna. So when we take shelter of the spiritual master, it is one of the limbs of sadhana bhakti. Although it is not direct service to Krishna, but still this limb of practice of bhakti is included in the definition of pure devotional service. Other items would be associating with devotees, observing Ekadashi Vrata and living in the Dham, and other few things also which I just described. All this includes Krishna, no Shilanam. So this is regarding Krishna, and Anushilanam we have discussed. This is just regarding Krishna. Okay, let us see what Prabhupada has to say about it. How can bhakti be spiritual if it is performed using material body and mind? This is one of the questions which comes across, that the senses and the body which is engaged is material, and bhakti is completely spiritual. So how can that bhakti be spiritual if it is performed with a material body and a mind? So Prabhupada answers this. Krishna conscious activities are directly under the control of the internal energy. By the mercy of the bona fide Guru and Krishna, all our endeavors are spiritualized. Because bhakti is the Sarupa Shakti of the Lord, and when the sadhaka gets this bhakti lata beach, Brahmande Brahmite kono bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata beach. So when this bhakti lata beach in the form of that sambandha gyan, the shastrartha vishwas, faith in the scriptures and to follow the injunctions of the scriptures, when he gets that bhakti lata beach, it is like the seed sown in the heart. And inspired by that, when one endeavors with the body and the senses and the mind, although they are material, because the bhakti lata beach is there, so all these endeavors are counted as completely spiritual activities. So this is the reason how bhakti is spiritual if it is performed with the material body and mind. Further, this service or Anushilanam, obtainable only by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees, is a transformation of the Lord's Swarup Shakti. As I was mentioning, it is a Lord Swarup Shakti which enters in the heart, but it is in the form of a seed right now. And thus it is not material but spiritual. However, one should understand that though it is purely spiritual, it makes its appearance, and it is not created since it is eternal, in the body, mind, and words by taking over the functions of the body, mind, and words. So, because of the Swarup Shakti, it makes its appearance in the art and in the body, mind, and words. Prabhupada's classic example is of the iron. The iron is material, and fire, when the iron rod is put in fire, because of being constant touch in fire, it also acquires the qualities of fire. And when the iron rod is very hot and you touch anything, it's no more an iron rod, it is fire. It will act like fire. So similarly, because of the Sarup Shakti in the form of Bhakti Lata Beach in the heart, now the body and the mind and the senses are getting spiritualized because of engagement in devotional service. So that's why they are spiritual. How to perform Krishna Anushilanam? By surrendering unto a bona fide Guru. This is the first anga. of Bhakti, Krishna, Guru Padashraya. So just like that iron rod, how does it acquire the qualities of fire? By coming in contact with the fire. Similarly, by coming in contact with the pure devotee and surrendering to him, our devotion begins. Isn't Narsing Anushilanam or Ram Anushilanam not Bhakti? Why only Krishna Anushilanam? Why has Rupa Goswami used Krishna Anushilanam? Why not Nrsinga Anushilanam or Ram Anushilanam? Who will answer this? Raise your hand. Okay, any others? Why Rupa Goswami has Anukolena Krishna Anushilanam, he said. He could have used Ram Anushilanam or Narsimha Anushilanam or Vaman Anushilanam, because Bhakti means it includes all the Vishnu Tattvas. So why did he say only Krishna Anushilanam? Okay, Dr. Archana Mataji. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. We are doing bhakti of real roop of a Krishna, original roop,
Okay.
not swaroop or incarnations.
Pardon, what did you say?
We are doing bhakti of original roop of a Krishna.
Original roop of Krishna. Rama is not also roop of Krishna. Means Rama is also not having the original form.
Swaroop.
He's also having Swaroop. Rama is also having his Swaroop.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyone else had raised his hand? Yeah, Makaran Bakshi. Yes.
Prabhuji, I have to take a clue from another class, but it is our Aradhya is Vrajendra Tanaya.
Yeah. So what then?
So Krishna, that's why the word Krishna Anushilanam.
Because our Aradhya is Krishna, so we are using the term. Rupa Goswami is using Krishna. What about somebody's Aradhya is Lord Ram? What he'll have to do then? Somebody's Aradhya might be Vaman also, or Varadev. Okay, anyone else? Radha Jivan Prabhuji. Yes.
Vaishnava Dandatranam. Prabhu is the original Swarupa, like Brahma Samhita, it says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarvakarma.
Yes. Okay. But still that doesn't answer why. Why not Nrsimha Anushilanam? Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji, you had raised your hand.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is because Krishna is the source of all avatara. He's avatari and all other incarnations are just his extension. So since he's the prime source, so we must worship him only.
Yes, this is the right answer. Although Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karan Karan is yes. Because when you say Krishna, it includes all the avatars which come in the Vishnu Tattva. So all are included. That's why by using word Krishna, Rupa Goswami is including all the avatars. So if you do Vaman also, because he's the avatar of Krishna only, so even that is also acceptable. That is also bhakti. So that is the reason why Rupa Goswami has used Krishna Shilanam. Okay. Any questions have regarding this up till now? Any questions, any clarifications? Okay. So now we have seen one of the Swarupa Lakshan or the intrinsic characteristic of pure devotion, that is Anushilanam, Krishna Anushilanam is over. Now Anukulena. Anukulena is the second Mukhya Lakshan. So let us see Anukulena. The word Anukulena with favorable friendliness is the descriptive element of Anushilanam or service. It is what? A descriptive element. How should Anushilanam be done? Anukulena. Anukulena describes how Anushilanam has to be done. It is necessary in order to limit the definition of bhakti. The definition of bhakti cannot be established with a disagreeable attitude towards pratikul. If it is done pratikul and there is Anushilanam, then it cannot be called as bhakti. So that is why Anukulena is required with Anushilanam. Word Anukulena in conjunction with Krishna Anushilana means behavior pleasing for Krishna. Pratikul means the opposite, behavior disagreeable for Krishna. Anukulena indicates that favorableness is the necessary qualifier for defining Anushilanam, as a secondary element that can be assumed to exist in Anushilanam, which need not be mentioned separately. So Anukulena is the necessary qualifier when we define Anushilanam, and you cannot say that within Anushilanam, Anukulena is included. No, that is not allowed. That is why Rupa Goswami has used Anukulena Krishnanushilanam. The definition of Anukulya as pleasing for Krishna is both too extensive and too limiting. So this Anukulya, when you say Anukulya, pleasing for Krishna, this can be too extensive or it can be too limiting. How is it so? Jiva Goswami, this is Jiva Goswami's commentary. He says, for instance, action. Anushilanam is action. Krishna, of a demon attacking Krishna in the rasa of fighting, Yuddha Veera Ras, derived from Utsarati, from Krishna's perspective, because when some demon wants to fight with Krishna, Krishna becomes very enthusiastic. Utsarati. It is pleasing for him since he takes pleasure in fighting with them. Yuddha Veera Ras. So the demon is doing actions, that is action of fighting with Krishna, and Krishna is relishing. Krishna is feeling happiness. So can that be called as bhakti? Who will answer this? Can that be called as bhakti? Who will answer this? What about others? Are others also there in the class or no? I would like to hear from others also. What about others? Please don't type anything. You can always raise your hands. Makaran Bakshiji, yes.
Prabhuji, that is pratikul, not anukul. So it cannot be called as bhakti.
So, Anukulena Krishnanushilanam. We are discussing Anukulena. Anukul means with a favorable attitude that is pleasing to Krishna. So this demon actions are pleasing to Krishna. They are pleasing for Krishna. So why it is not called bhakti? Makaran. Krishna is getting pleasure. He's deriving happiness from the Yuddha Veera Ras. So why it is not called as bhakti?
But it is not directly done for the pleasure of the Lord. the demons are not directly doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. But Lord,
Krishna is getting pleasure.
hmm.
Then why it cannot be called bhakti? Yes, Prabhuji, what happened? Okay, now I'll put another same question. Some actions a devotee does, it is Anushilanam, and by that actions, Krishna becomes displeased. Okay, Krishna becomes displeased.
Hmm.
Can that be bhakti?
No.
It cannot be bhakti. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let us see now. Again, an illustration of the definition being too limited if anukulya means pleasing to Krishna is given. When Yashoda left Krishna and went to take the milk off the fire, Krishna was not pleased. So this action of Yashoda, Krishna did not become pleased. Thus Yashoda would be excluded from the definition of bhakti. If you say that it is pleasing for Krishna, the Viriras is pleasing for Krishna, then this definition would be too extensive because it will include demons also as devotees, as that they are performing pure devotional service. And if it is too limiting, then pleasing to Krishna, Mother Yashoda's acts were not pleasing to Krishna. Then Yashoda would be excluded. That Yashoda is not a pure devotee then. So, what is the answer? In order to prevent the definition from being too extensive, the first case, that is the demon fighting in the Viriras, or too limiting, the second case, that is Mother Yashoda, the definition of Anukulya should be explained as devoid of hostility on the part of the performer. So this point has to be noted very carefully. The demon is doing Anushilanam, actions, but it is not with an attitude or an intention to please Krishna. He is doing it to harm Krishna, to hurt Krishna. Although in that actions, Krishna is relishing the Viriras. So that is why it is not bhakti. Whereas Mother Yashoda actions, she is doing those actions by which Krishna might become displeased. He's angry. He's biting his teeth. Why did Mother Yashoda leave me? But those actions by Mother Yashoda, the performer, are also with the attitude to please Krishna, because that milk is also meant for Krishna's service. So here the most important point is that devoid of the hostility on the part of the performer. Otherwise, anukulena, if you see, it can be too extensive or it can be too limiting. So this is the real purport to the meaning anukulena. Anukulena means with the attitude of the performer, which is devoid of hostility when it is performed. Then only anukulena is satisfied. This will exclude the demons because they have hostility in the form of hatred for Krishna. This definition will also not exclude Yashoda because she is devoid of hostility to Krishna. So this is about anukulena. Is it clear? Any questions on this? The deeper meaning of anukulena. Any questions, any clarifications? Okay, so now we'll go to, okay, there is one hand raised. Yeah, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Prabhuji, in case of Mother Yashoda, though she had attitude of pleasing Krishna, but Krishna got angry. How to understand this?
How to understand this? There are two things, as in the commentary of Jiva Goswami it is mentioned. Both these actions of Mother Yashoda is feeding breast milk. That action was, done with Anukul Bhav, and even the action of leaving Krishna aside and going and picking the milk which was pouring out from the fire flame, because that milk also was meant for Krishna's service. It was meant for Krishna's service. So among the two, Mother Yashoda had to decide first what is required to be attended immediately for Krishna's service. So in both her actions, they were devoid of hostility. And that is why that fits in the definition of Anukulena. Whereas demons, their actions might be pleasing to Krishna, but they are not devoid of hostility. So that is why on the part of the performer, we have to see what is your attitude? What is your attitude while doing the service? That attitude matters. So if that attitude is positive, then it is service to Krishna. Then it will fit in the Mukhya Lakshana. If it is negative, sometimes, we might perform some devotional activity to a pure devotee, but our intentions, our attitude matters there. What is the attitude? If we have, we have a particular motive behind it, we want to gain something out of it, then it is not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. We'll come to that, Tatastha Lakshan. So, or it is to show that, oh, that devotee is very dear to the spiritual master and he is getting more mercy. So let me also now somehow push myself and try to do this service so that, so what kind of, bhavana you are holding while performing that devotional service, that matters. So that is the deeper meaning of Anukulena. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Makarand Bakshi Prabhuji. Yes.
Prabhuji, if it is not a diversion of the subject, shall we also hold the same thing in our mind when we are dealing with the devotees?
Yes, definitely. Because Krishna Anushilanam includes service to the devotees.
Yes,
Service to the spiritual master.
Correct.
Okay. Further regarding Anukulena. Now, Rupa Goswami's definition, every word what he has chosen in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu definition, if that word is not there, then that Uttama Bhakti definition will not come forth. Not one word is redundant. Redundant means it is not an extra word there. So here, what Jiva Goswami does also in his commentary is a redundancy check. And this is the first redundancy check he does. What is the need for Anukulena? This is one objection you can raise. There is no need of Anukulena. When the king calls the soldiers for war, it is assumed that they have to come with weapons. Similarly, Anukulena is implied in Anushilanam. When you do actions for Krishna, it is implied that it has to be done with a favorable attitude, with the intention to please Krishna. That attitude or that devoid of hostility has to be there. So Anushilanam is sufficient. There is no need of Anukulena. And the example here is given. King says, soldiers, come for the war. So when soldiers come for the war, the soldier will come. It doesn't mean that he'll not carry his weapons. He will carry his weapons. So he coming to the war field is Anushilanam. And carrying the weapons is Anukulena. So Anukulena is included in Anushilanam. So this is the argument. So what's your answer to this objection? How will you answer? Who will answer this? I know it is a little difficult, but I want devotees to try. What is the answer to this objection? Anushilanam will include Anukulena. Just like the soldier coming to the war means it is implied that he'll come with his weapons. Who will answer this? Okay, let us see what Jiva Goswami has to say about it. When the king calls the soldiers to feed them, they don't have to come with their weapons. The king's daughter's marriage is there. He assembles all the soldiers, please come to the palace for the dinner or the lunch. So that time, it doesn't mean that they have to come with their weapons there, right? So not all times Anushilanam can include Anukulena. So that is why Anukulena is required. Therefore, Anushilanam, actions directed with concentration on Krishna, doesn't automatically imply Anukulena. Example is Kamsa. So Kamsa was constantly absorbed in the thought of Krishna. Constantly. But with not a favorable attitude. It was not Anukulena. That's why Kamsa is not considered as a Uttama Bhakta. Thus, the word Anukulena is necessary added to this particular definition of the. So this is the response to this objection. Why is Anukulena there? Now, second redundancy check. What is the need of Anushilanam? Isn't Anukulya Bhakti enough? As Bhakti automatically means service. Bhakti means service. So what is the need for saying Anushilanam? Shila means actions, Shila Dhatu, we saw that. Service or actions. So Anukulena, you just write Anukulena. Why Anushilanam is required? Anukulena Krishna. Sufficient. So why Anushilanam is required? No need. So what is the answer to this? Anyone would like to try? I know it is a little difficult, but still, we'd like to hear from the devotees. Why Anushilanam is required? Reena Mataji. Yes, I have unmuted you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, there should be devotional service, not जैसे कि हम लोग भगवान से प्यार करते हैं और हम उनके लिए कुछ सेवा नहीं करते, तो that is not the favorable way. इसलिए अनुशीलन is important. Action should be done there.
But Anukulena includes action. So there is no need of Anushilanam. That's the argument given here by Jiva Goswami. Some background disturbance there. I don't know. Virendra Yadav Prabhuji, you wanted to say something?
Prabhu, in Anusilanam, there is a continuous service, and that also following in footsteps of Guru and spiritual master.
Yes, yes, that is one of the answers. Any other reasons? That's true. Anu includes, continuous service. That is one of the most important criteria for pure devotion. Any other reasons? Okay, Radha Jeevan Prabhuji.
Vaishnava.
Yes.
So this is performing intention and attitude.
But where that is in Anushilanam means actions, The intention and attitude is taken care in Anushilanam word. Okay, so let us see what Jiva Goswami says. For example, when the king goes out traveling, it is also implied that he goes along with his entourage. So when the king goes, the queen goes, the minister goes. So Anukula will include Anushilanam. Similarly, when we mention Bhakti, it includes service and all other items as well. So when we say Bhakti, there is service. So there is no need of Anushilanam. The response here is, yes, this is true. But by omitting Anushilanam, there won't be any clear indication of the different shades of meanings inherent in the root Shil. So the Anu was mentioned, yes, that is also true, continuous, but the different shades of meaning of Cheshta Rupa, Bhava Rupa, different shades of meanings will not come forth if Anushilanam is not there. Thus, there won't be any indication of the different modes of bhakti, that is Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa. One second, I don't know why this. The word Anushilam is specifically supplied in the definition in order to comprehend the full sense of the root Shila. So the full sense of that different shades of meaning, to cover that's why Anushilanam is included. Moreover, the prefix Anu indicates that the service has to be continuous. The service has to be continuous. So that's why this was answered by Birendra. Another response is that a pot also is devoid of hostility towards Krishna and is pleasing to Krishna. If there is one pot which is kept, that pot is not having any hostility to Krishna. And seeing the pot, Krishna is very pleased. So does that mean that the pot is performing Uttama Bhakti? But it cannot be considered to be performing Bhakti. Therefore, Anushilanam is necessary. Anukulena Krishnanushilanam, continuous service, emotions directed towards Krishna or, his expansion forms, others related to him. This all includes Krishna with the pleasing attitude towards Krishna. This is Anukulena, is the essential characteristic, Swarup Lakshan of. So this is Anukulena Krishnanu Shilanam. I hope the Swarup Lakshan, Anushilanam and Anukulena is clear to all of us here. Any questions, any clarifications? Then now we can go to the Tatastha Lakshan. Any questions or clarifications anyone has? Okay. So now let us go to the the secondary characteristics, or what is called as the Gauna Lakshan or Tatastha Lakshan. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, should be devoid of other desires. Jnana Karmadya Anavritam, should not be covered by Gyan, Karm or other items. So these are the Tatastha Lakshan. Now, pure devotional service should qualify both the Swarup Lakshan as well as the Tatastha Lakshan. Then only it defines pure devotion. If the Tatastha Lakshan are not there, then it is not pure devotion. It is mixed devotion or Mishra Bhakti. It is or alloyed Bhakti, not unalloyed devotion. It is not Shuddha Bhakti, but it is Mishra Bhakti. So that is why the Tatastha Lakshan have to be also be present in order to define it as Uttama Bhakti. So now we will see what are the Tatastha Lakshan. There are two, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karmadya Anavritam. So let us now first see Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Other desires means any other desires other than please Krishna through bhakti. While performing devotional service, any other desire than the desire to please by those actions Krishna or his pure devotees, if you have any other devotee desires, then that will not be Shuddha Bhakti. There is Abhilasha. So Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Shunyam means no other desire than the desire to please Krishna through bhakti. That is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. In other words, bhakti that is aimed at achieving bhakti is proper, else improper. I will perform the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra because it is pleasing to Krishna, so that I can advance in bhakti, or I can, attain bhava bhakti. By practicing sadhana bhakti, I can attain bhava bhakti. This kind of a desire, bhakti, which is aimed for achieving bhakti, then this fits in Anya Abhilashita Shunya. If I chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for pleasing to Krishna, so that I can have a comfortable life, or I can have a comfortable home, or I can get a lot of material benefits so that I am in a comfortable situation. I am chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to please Krishna, but with this desire, so that my material situation should be much better, so that I can be comfortably situated in this world. Then that is not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. There is desire. But the desire for achieving bhakti, higher stages of bhakti, that fits in the definition of Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Please try to understand this point. You might miss it. Example, aim of sadhana bhakti to attain bhava bhakti. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. By sadhana bhakti, this bhaktya refers to sadhana bhakti. Sanjayate means gives rise to bhava bhakti. So if the aim of a sadhaka to practice sadhana bhakti is to attain bhava bhakti, then it is Anya Abhilashita Shunya. But any other material thing, then it is not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. That devotion which is performed is not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. It doesn't fit in the category of Uttama Bhakti. Okay, is this point clear? Any questions on this point itself? Any questions on this point just now what I explained in this slide? We are further going to study Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, but on this point, is it clear or no? Dr. Archana Mataji, yes.
Prabhuji, when we start our bhakti, it always start with some intention. As you correctly said, ki, just to please Krishna or to get bhakti, we do a lot of chanting and services. So It has to start with Abhilasha only.
No, that's
Generally,
what
it starts with Abhilasha.
the desire to please Krishna. The desire to please Krishna, that is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. But if the desire is to please Krishna so that I get, some material benefit out of it, like I'll be in a more comfortable situation, then it is not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. That's why I was making it clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I got this point.
You got this point or no?
Yes, I got this point. Yes.
Okay, further, let us see. So, why is it Anya Abhilashita Shunyam and not Anya Abhilasha Shunyam? Why has Rupa Goswami used Anya Abhilashita Shunyam and not Anya Abhilash? Anya Abhilash Shunyam literally means one should have no other desire except the desire to please the Supreme Personality of God under any circumstances. Please mark this point, under any circumstances. No other desire except to please the Supreme Personality under any circumstance. That is the meaning of Anya Abhilash. But Rupa Goswami has used what? Anya Abhilashita, not Anya Abhilash. What is the reason? Okay, but that sounds all right. What is wrong with this definition? What is wrong with this definition? If you say Anya Abhilasha Shunyam, it's right, we feel. But still Rupa Goswami has used Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. This definition is too exclusive. This Anya Abhilasha Shunyam is too exclusive. Why? If this definition is accepted, then Draupadi cannot be accepted as a Uttama Bhakta. Now, Draupadi, when in that Sabha, she was tried to be stripped naked by Dushashan, she called out first the help of all the elders there, Bhishma, and, Drona, Dhritarashtra, and then ultimately to her husbands, but they were also helpless. But at last, she called out Krishna. Now, Draupadi's calling of the name of Krishna, Hey Govinda, she called out. She called out, that was with the desire to please Krishna, with no other desire. She had a desire that Krishna protect me. For her protection, she had called out the name of Govinda. So, is Draupadi fitting the definition of Uttama Bhakti? Yes or no? And if you say yes, why you should say that? If you say no, why she doesn't fit? I hope the point is very clear. Draupadi calling out Krishna, Hey Govinda. It is pleasing to Krishna because you are calling the name of Krishna, but she called to protect her. So there was a desire for her protection, she called. So does she fit in the category of Uttama Bhakti or no? Sridham Charan Prabhuji. Yes.
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I think it is not Uttam Bhakti. Why? Because of she has some intention. That means she has own pleasure. That's why she asked that.
She asked for her own protection. So Draupadi is not considered as a Uttama Bhakti.
Yes, Prabhuji, I think. Yeah, Prabhuji, this is my answer.
Okay. Varsha Mataji, what do you have to say?
I think Uttama Bhakti is there. Because Draupadi finally completely surrender herself to the Lord and asks about her protection.
Finally surrendered, you said. That means before she calling out the name of Govinda, before that she was not a Shuddha Bhakta.
No, Prabhuji. In this case, first she asks all present there, like Bhishma, Drona, and her
Oh, like
husband.
that finally you're saying. So, okay. Any other thoughts? Anyone else wants to share their thoughts? If Rup Goswami had used Anya Abhilash, under any circumstances, every activity should be done for pleasing Krishna, and under any circumstances, then Anya Abhilash would have fit. And if Anya Abhilash Shunyam is used, then Draupadi calling out Krishna, she will be not considered as Uttam Bhakta. Any other thoughts on this? Anyone else wants to share their thoughts? I would like to hear. Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, bro. Bro, I think it has to be seen with respect to Purna Sadagati, where we believe ki avasya Lakshmi Krishna. And with that intent, I think Draupadi called Krishna.
But that doesn't really, we are trying to see the difference between Anya Abhilash Shunyam and Anya Abhilashita Shunyam.
And also, bro, when we say Bhaktya Sanjayate Bhaktya, if we refer this term, so if we don't have that desire to achieve, Bhava Bhakti after going on high grass, so
see, the desire to practice bhakti so that we can attain bhava bhakti is fitting in the definition of Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Anya Abhilashita. But the desire call out for the Lord for protection, that is, if it is Anya Abhilash, please remember Anya Abhilash. No, under any circumstances, no other desire under any circumstances, please the Lord. And if it was Anya Abhilash, then Draupadi cannot be accepted as a Uttama Bhakta. So some said, yes, Draupadi cannot be accepted as a Uttama Bhakta. But Draupadi is considered as a Uttama Bhakta. So that is why Rupa Goswami has not used Anya Abhilash Shunyam, but he has used Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Now this requires some explanation. I will explain it. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam means devoid of other desires than are deep rooted to one's nature. So Draupadi is a Uttama Bhakta, and her actions, whatever she does, is always with a favorable attitude to please Krishna. That is her deep-rooted nature. This means devoid of other desires which are as deep-rooted as one's nature. In death-threatening situations, a devotee say, "Oh Lord, please save me, devotee, now from this danger." So even a very exalted devotee in that certain situation might say, "Oh Lord, please save me, your devotee, from this danger." So when he says this, now this calling out of the Lord was for his protection. Was for his protection. But it is a death-threatening situation. And that is why if Rupa Goswami had used Anya Abhilash Shunyam, then he would have not qualified for as a Uttama Bhakta. But Rupa Goswami has used Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Anya Abhilashita means deep-rooted as one's nature. It is not his nature to call out the Lord for his protection. But in certain threatening situations, if a devotee calls, still it will not disqualify him of practicing Uttama Bhakti. This is the point to be noted very clearly. Because it is a sudden temporary desire. It is a temporary desire which is not harmful to his bhakti. That is because this desire arises beyond his control, opposite of his deep-rooted devotional nature. That desire is not his nature. It is not his nature. So that is why Rupa Goswami has used Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. So once I heard from a senior devotee who was serving His Holiness Jai Patak Maharaj. Jai Patak Maharaj was traveling by a car from the Mayapur temple to the Calcutta airport. And while driving in the car, suddenly the car from the main highway, the car was going at a very high speed, and suddenly the driver, lost his balance, and the car went down, and it was about to hit a tree. And Jai Patak Maharaj shouted out, "Gauranga, save me! Gauranga, save me!" And somehow nothing happened to the vehicle. No major damage happened, neither to the driver, nor to Maharaj, nor to his servant. And Jai Patak Maharaj calling this the name of Gauranga was pleasing to the Lord Gauranga, but it was called for his protection. So does that mean that Jai Patak Maharaj doesn't fit in the Uttama Bhakti definition? He still fits in. Now Maharaj called out ultimately because ultimately I have to go to the airport and go and preach. So the purpose was for the protection ultimately to execute pure devotion. So this sudden desire which might come, this is not harmful. His deep-rooted nature is to always perform devotion with no other desire other than the desire to please Krishna. But sometimes, during some death-threatening situations, even if a devotee calls for his personal protection, still it will not disqualify him from being a Uttama Bhakta. This should be understood very clearly. So that is why Rupa Goswami has said Anya Abhilashita Shunyam and not Anya Abhilash. If he had said Anya Abhilash Shunyam, then Draupadi would not be considered as a Uttama Bhakta. So this is the difference here. And coming back to this point, just as Gajendra is not considered as a Uttama Bhakta. Now Gajendra called out also the Lord, and Lord Hari on his Vahan, the Garuda, came and protected Gajendra, first by killing the crocodile and gave him protection. Now Gajendra is considered as a Karma Mishra Bhakta. If you see the Gita verse, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritano arjuna artho jigyasu artharti jnani cha bhartarshava. Artha means one who is in distress. So one who is in distress approaches me, Krishna says. So there is a purpose to approach Krishna. The purpose is to mitigate the distress. So Gajendra is not considered as a Uttama Bhakta. Please remember this. Gajendra falls in the category of Karma Mishra Bhakta because he called out the Lord out of distress and in order to mitigate his distress. The Lord came and mitigated his distress, and because now Gajendra had the darshan of the Lord, his heart got purified, he became a pure devotee, a Uttama Bhakta. And then he lamented, So those prayers are there. In the Gajendra Moksha Leela it is there. So that is the difference. Whereas Draupadi was always a Uttama Bhakta. And she also called out, Hey Govinda, but that was not her deep-rooted nature. It was a temporary desire. And still, because she called out, still she continued to remain a Uttama Bhakta. Draupadi was a Uttama Bhakta before also. And when she called out also, for her own protection, still that did not disqualify her from Uttama Bhakta, and she continued to remain. Whereas Gajendra was a Karma Mishra Bhakta, because Artha means out of distress. He approached the Lord, and the Lord mitigated his distress by having the Lord's darshan. His heart got purified, and from Karma Mishra Bhakti, he transformed himself into a Shuddha Bhakta. Another example, Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest based on the instructions of his mother, and later on meeting his spiritual master Narad Muni, executed devotional service, Anukulena, with a favorable attitude to please Krishna. Continuous actions he was doing. He was performing bhakti actions, but he had a desire. He did this with the intention to achieve a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. So Dhruva Maharaj practiced what is called as Karma Mishra Bhakti. It was not Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Although the Mukhya Lakshans were there, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam, but the Gaun Lakshans, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam was. He performed with the Abhilasha to attain a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather. And when the Lord gave him darshan, Dhruva Maharaj's heart got purified. Arey, what kind of a material desire with which I performed this devotion? No? So I was looking for broken pieces of glass. Now I've got what? A jewel. So that's why Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting for his material desire, that he performed devotion with the material desire. So with the darshan of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj, that Mishran got cleansed and he became a Shuddha Bhakta. But still the Lord fulfilled his desire. Because otherwise the future generation will say, Arey, what the Lord did not fulfill the desire of Dhruva Maharaj. So like that, this is the subtle difference which we need to understand. So that is the difference between Anya Abhilasha Shunyam and Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Why has Rupa Goswami used Anya Abhilashita? Because otherwise, if he had used Anya Abhilash, then Draupadi would have not been accepted as Uttama Bhakta. Anya Abhilashita means devoid of other desires that are deep-rooted as one's nature. One's nature, a pure devotee's nature, is to always perform devotion for Krishna's pleasure. But sometimes sudden desire might come up out of in that situation. Still, he is qualified as a Uttama Bhakta. I hope this point is clear. And if you have any questions on this, you can ask. Any questions on Anya Abhilasha and Anya Abhilashita Shunya? The difference between the two. Any questions, any clarifications? There are two. Okay, we will take these two questions and end the session. Yes, Sri Dhamacharan Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, what about five Pandavas? Five Pandavas devotion is called as a Anya Abhilash or Anya Abhilashita.
The five Pandavas devotion is falling in the category of pure devotion, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. It doesn't come in the category of mixed devotion.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, I'll give you an example. When Ashwatthama fired the Brahmastra, Arjuna prayed prayed for Krishna to protect, and he offered prayers and he asked, what is this? That was a death-threatening situation. So the prayers are there in the Bhagavatam. Similarly, Uttara, she ran towards Krishna, Pai Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate. There is no one else when there is this kind of a death-threatening situation. Yatya Mrityu Parasparam. That verse is there, I think, in 1, 8, 7 or 8, first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Uttara, then she is calling Krishna for her protection. So then she would not qualify as a Uttama Bhakta, but Uttara is also a pure devotee, Uttama Bhakta. So with these examples, we can understand why Rupa Goswami has used Anya Abhilashita and not Anya Abhilash. Is it clear, Sridhamacharan Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, thank you, Prabhuji. Nice, Prabhuji. Still, I want that, PPTs, Prabhuji. That I will contact you.
Yes, yes. This definition of pure devotional service, we should repeatedly try to study it, try to hear it and understand and get a clear understanding. It takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. So we have to get the clear understanding of pure devotional service definition. That's why we are going in detail and we are spending 2-3 classes only on this. There was one more hand raised. Any other questions? Anyone? Somebody had also raised their hand. Yes, Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Prabhu, just clarification. In case of Draupadi, that particular situation, it was Arthur condition, and in that condition she called. But since she was otherwise also, her actions were always pleasing for Krishna. That's why she falls in category of Uttama Bhakta, Prabhu.
No. It is not that Draupadi was a Mishra Bhakta. Mishra Bhakta means one who approaches Krishna with the intention to become free from distress. He practices bhakti because of that. He practices bhakti so that he can become free from distress. Dhruva Maharaj practiced bhakti with a clear intention to get a kingdom greater than Brahma. And he practiced, yes, Anukulena, Krishna Anushilanam was there, but there was Abhilasha. There was a desire to attain. So that is why it is Karma Mishra Bhakti. But that is not the case with Draupadi. That Draupadi was in Artha condition and that's why she is a Mishra Bhakta. And this Artha condition came up during that Sabha. No, she was before also a pure devotee. Her deep-rooted nature was to always do actions for the pleasure of Krishna and no other desire she had. But in this situation, there was a temporary desire for protection. And that's why she still qualifies and remains as a Uttama Bhakta. This is the difference you have to understand. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. So we have now discussed Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, the first Tatastha Lakshan or the Gauna Lakshan. Now in the next class, tomorrow we will discuss Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. And that will complete the definition of pure devotional service. And once we complete that, we'll see more in detail some few things because we need to understand this pure devotion definition because we are studying Bhakti Tattva Viveka, where further Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to explain this definition of Rupa Goswami. So we are preparing you with that background so that we get a clear understanding. And when we go to Bhakti Tattva Viveka, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, then we will get a better understanding. So that's why we are studying the definition of pure devotional service as Rupa Goswami is given with the commentaries of Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Prabhupada. So we will see in the next class Jnana Karma De Anavritam, and then we will do some other discussion related to this pure devotion definition. That also we will do it tomorrow. And then we will come back to the Tattva Viveka. So we will stop here. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki